Welcome to Health Hacktivators with lifestyle medicine doctor, GP and longevity expert Dr. Alka Patel. This show will help you to discover a hidden health hacking code that unlocks your phenomenal potential for an outstanding health span, lifespan and wealth span. The show features candid conversations with celebrities, influencers and industry icons, real life stories and cutting edge health activating advice that other doctors might not tell you. Discover why now is the time to join the strategic self-care revolution and experience the profound effects this will have on your personal and professional success. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alka Patel.
Hi, hey, and hello, Health Hacktivators. On today's show, I have with me Mikyla Dodd. Mikyla, you'll know from our TV screens. She's played the role of Chloe Bruce in Hollyoaks. She's also been in Casualty, and she's appeared in the ITV reality TV show Celebrity Fit Club. Mikyla's also written a book, which we're going to be discussing today. It's called Playing the Fat Girl. And today we're talking about being fat and fit. Before we get into today's show, please do support today's show partner, Youth and Earth. Youth and Earth have a range of products that I love to use myself to supercharge my metabolism, to support my health, and to slow down cellular aging. Just be sure you click the link in the show notes for exclusive offers, which Youth and Earth are so generously giving for listeners of this show. Mikyla, hello, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for inviting me. I'm very excited.
Oh, ditto. There's so much that we can talk about. So what I thought I would do is maybe start by just going back in time with you, if that's okay, because I really wanted to start by talking about your book. So your book, Playing the Fat Girl, I think was the title, Playing the Fat Girl. I mean, that is such an evocative title on its own. But what I would love for you to do is take us back to 15 years ago? I think it's been out 15 years now. What was going on at the time for you that provoked you to write that?
I'll be honest, I'd been on a big weight loss journey. So I'd gone from, I suppose, gaining a stone every year of my life to then getting to the point where I was 25 stone at 21 years of age. And then it sort of started to claw back. So when I did the book, I'd not long done Celebrity Fit Club. And I guess that was where I was at about sort of maybe 16 stone. So I was 9 stone, lighter than I had been. And I think, it was just an interesting journey, and losing that weight in the public eye and really getting to a weight where I realized that people, I'd only been treated one way all my life. And I realized that when I lost weight, I was treated quite differently. And I found that fascinating. I found my reaction to it fascinating. And I guess, I was working with a great agent at the time. She said to me, look, I think your story is really important. I think people would be really interested in it. It sort of, it went from there, and I got a lovely publisher who were really thrilled to be able to sort of tell the story. So it wasn't actually as difficult as somebody might think. I guess you just have to spark somebody's imagination and be bold enough to be transparent.
And that is the thing though, because it does take real courage and conviction to write what you wrote, but also going back to what you said earlier, losing weight in the public eye, doing this publicly itself, because weight, I know it's such an emotive topic. So again, what for you meant, I'm going to do this publicly now.
I guess so when I was to give you sort of a bit of a history as to how it happened, when I first started losing weight, I'd been cast in a film about female sumo wrestlers.
Wow.
And I remember looking around the room at all the other people that were cast there, and I was like, oh, wow, they're much bigger than me. They're not like me. And actually I was deluded. I was living in a bubble. And I think because I was younger and everybody always said to me kindly, oh, you've got such a pretty face. It was like, so we'll focus on those things and actually forget that I was just getting bigger and bigger. So I think losing that weight during a project felt a little bit exposing. And then I did Hollyoaks, and during Hollyoaks, I made a documentary alongside. So again, I kind of had done some, it actually, if I'm honest with you, it's like people who go to, some, I don't want to name names, but the Slimming Worlds and the Weight Watchers and all the great things that are well established in the world. It's part of going there and people seeing how you've progressed, also seeing other people progress and thinking it must be possible because they're doing it. So I think it was kind of a magnified version of that. And it actually did spur me on. And then after writing the book, I then went on to do a fitness DVD and lose another 3 stone, which was all, part of a contractual obligation. And I think if somebody gives me a hard target, it helps me be disciplined, because let's be honest, it's not easy to be disciplined on your own, is it, when nobody else cares but you?
Yeah, and I think there's real truth in that as well. Is it does come down to that motivation. So if you set yourself a goal, a target of I want to lose weight, what a lot of people then don't do is really think about why. Why am I doing this? Because you need that motivation, you need that driver, you need the accountability, you need the purpose of it to be really upfront and center for you to keep going. So, what's your message to people who are trying to lose weight? What would you say needs to come first? Is it the how or the why?
I definitely think you start with the why, because if you don't know why you've got to the weight that you are and that you're unhappy with yourself, or you've been told that you have a chronic health condition that you must fix. So if you've got to that place, which, let's be honest, is not a great place for anybody to experience, however it comes, and you don't know why you got there, then I think during the working out how you're going to lose it, there's going to likely be a degree of self-sabotage, because you've always been that you've become that person. So it's really hard to say, I don't like that person. I need to understand how I became that person, and I want to make some changes to get there. And I think if not, it's very easy on the journey to just go, I don't care. Why am I, why am I doing this? So I think it's important to, and I just, at the minute I'm studying to be a counsellor, because I found that was has been important for me throughout my life. And having good counselling, having somebody to talk to who lets you find your own answers is a really powerful thing, I think, and that helps you with your resolve. When you are reaching for a biscuit or you don't want to go out for that walk, to actually sit and think about why you need to do it and why you want to do it is very powerful.
Yeah, gosh, I love that you've taken your journey and are now translating that into, sometimes is very missing for people. It's that outlet to really be able to share exactly how it feels, to share the thoughts, to hear their own thoughts in the ether, so that they become tangible. Because sometimes people don't really know what they're thinking or why they're thinking it, but having that opportunity to be coached or counseled can make a huge difference for that as well. And
I think also, I was just going to say, I think also one of the reasons for pursuing it for me is I'm somebody who people comes, you're one of those people come to you for advice, and, and they want to come, you're the person that they spill all their thoughts.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought, actually, when we talk about accountability, I thought, I don't know. I think sometimes I'm giving somebody my version of, well, this is what I would do. And actually what's great about counselling is it isn't giving people the answers, and it's really helped me in my life with some of my relationships and friendships to kind of take a step back and go, no, it's not about what you would do, it's about what they need to do and how they're going to find the answer. And I think it's been a great experience on that level. Even if I didn't do it professionally, I think it's enhanced me as a person.
Oh, for sure. So what did you discover then? What's been your why?
Mine is very much, which, it does, labour a little bit in the book, but mine is very much to do with my relationship with my dad, which thankfully is much better now. But yeah, he really wasn't engaged in having children. I was not, on his part, wanted, if you will. I was kind of, it was to pacify my mom. And he didn't really make any bones about that. So I had a gap. I was missing love, and I filled that gap and that emptiness and that need for, and I talk about it in the book about I used to eat carbs because they'd make me feel so full. It felt like I was being hugged from the inside. I felt that contentment that you feel when a parent scoops you up and squeezes you in and you feel that safety. I didn't get that from one of my parents. So I chose food to help me deal with that emotionally. So I would say that's the root of it. It's not all of it, but I think it's where it started. And that became a coping mechanism for all challenges in life, you know?
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because I know there'll be people listening who need to hear that from you in order to hear it from themselves as well, is that there is so often that emotional reason for the connection with food that we all develop. And we all have a relationship with food. Food gives us, it's part of our memories, isn't it? It kind of gives us that, our emotional understanding of ourselves as well. So where are you now with your weight and your relationship and your emotions with that?
So I met somebody, let me see now, 11 years ago, and I've had 2 children since, and I have struggled with that because I did put weight on, and also, you know, again, like content, I was content in my relationship, and I've gone with somebody who, you know, is fabulous, but he also loves to feed me. It's a way he shows me love, you know. So I guess I've gone back. I'm now sitting at about 18 stone. So not at my biggest, but not at my lightest. I'm kind of in the middle ground, but I've recently really kind of reignited that. I've never stopped exercising, and I think that has been the leveler for me, because when I go and I have health checks, you know, my cholesterol's always good, my heart is always in great condition, I'm not high risk for diabetes. Mine is just my BMI is too high, whereas previously when I did Celebrity Fit Club and when I did the documentary, my BMI was the least of it. You know, all my functions, my heart was in danger. I was, you know, on the border of going to be diabetic. So I think the food I eat is still good. I just eat too much of it. And I do pick and cheat on what the kids are having. So I think I've late, like I said, I've kind of recently sort of had a resurgence and come down from 19 to 18, and I'm on that route now because I want it for myself. You know, I want to be able to do all the things that I should be able to do with my kids, and I am fit enough. So thankfully I can still run around with them. I've got the energy, but I'm self-conscious of how I look doing it, if you get what I mean. So I'm conscious that the kids will get to an age where they will see their other friends looking at their mommy thinking, you know, she doesn't look like the other mommies. So it's definitely a motivation for me to work with that.
You raised some really interesting points there, Mikyla. I think 2 things to pick up on. One is the sort of inside-outside conversation and the judgments or the perceptions that we have of people from the outside, i.e., you're overweight and equals you're not fit equals you're unhealthy, and how important it is also in parallel with that to kind of get an internal view. And I'm so glad you've talked about sort of, you know, getting tests done, making sure that you know exactly what's going on at a much deeper level to your health than what we see, because there's sometimes be a mismatch between the two. But it's also important to really understand how the two can marry up as well. So that I think that's a super, super important. And the second bit is about your children. What do you say to them? What's your conversation with them when it comes to food and weight?
Oh, it's very difficult because my son, my eldest, who's 8, is autistic. So I don't think for him he will ever recognise me being anything other than perfect, sweet boy. But he will, you know, we have that relationship. I'm his anchor. To him, the rest of the world is strange, and you know, mummy's normal. I'm the thing that is the constant. Yeah. With my little girl, unfortunately, she has inherited my frame, so I have to check myself because I don't want her to become conscious of it. But equally, I have to, you know, give her dad, you know, quite firm talkings to sometimes and say to him, how many times has she been to that cupboard today? We need to stop that. I don't mind there being treats in the house, but we need to manage how many times. And we have to treat her brother the same, even though he doesn't have a weight problem. He could probably eat, any old rubbish he wants. But it's more about, as we say, what the food contains and what it could potentially do to her habits and her weight. So I think it's an interesting one, because sometimes we talk about it. Sometimes she says to me, "Mummy, why do you go to the gym? Mummy, why can't you?" She'll hear me say, "Oh no, Rob, I can't have that," or "I'm not going to have that now," or whatever. Right. And she does ask me, and I talk to her about health. I try to make it about health, and despite having said to you, I know I'm healthy inside. I don't want her to think my reason for wanting to lose weight is to do with aesthetics, because I don't want to put that in her head. She's 6. I just want her to be happy, and I would like her to make good choices. So we talk, a little bit about sugar and how much sugar we have and what, sugar does, just so that they're informed, I guess, so they understand what it does to their teeth and all those things, so it's not just focused on, you eat these things, you're going to be overweight. But it'll be a challenge, I'm not going to lie. I think the next 10 years for me of knowing how to communicate my challenges without passing on something to her, but also educating her so she doesn't have the same awful journey, because she doesn't feel full, and I struggle with that. So she will keep eating. She doesn't have a "I'm full" button, which I think is also for people out there that are struggling. That is a real thing, and it's really difficult when you can just keep eating. If you're unhappy and eating makes you happy, and you don't have a full leveler, you just keep going. So it's a concern, I'd say.
It becomes a go-to, doesn't it? And it's needing that kind of conscious awareness. And it's harder when your emotions are overloaded with other things that are going on as well. And it's really interesting with sort of children and parenting and mirroring, that so much goes on without it being active. That children do, and you do see this a lot. And where do you think the responsibility then lies, Mikyla, in terms of the education piece? It sounds as though you've learned from kind of your experiences and are sharing what you feel is right with your daughter. Where else do you feel the kind of responsibility lies or should lies?
Well, I mean, there's got to be a huge part to play in school, because they're having a meal a day there. Whether that be the meal that comes, I mean, typically, mine prefer packed lunches, but even that, it's difficult. It's difficult to know what they've eaten in that packed lunch, and what they might do is eat the things that are okay, and then they find the fruit pack comes back in their, in their lunchbox. So I think there's a lot could be done in schools, just to talk about kind of, like as part of maths, when you're talking about fractions, and you use the plate and you talk about your portion control and how much of that should be green and how much of that. And they do a bit of it, but I really feel that if you could weave it into more, and there'd be more social stories about what that means, and more incentive and rewards for making healthy choices, I think would be fantastic. Because, they do say, oh, no sweet things, no chocolate. But if the parents aren't educated, then when the child gets home, they're going to get their fill. They're going to go to the cupboard and get, the Oreos and the pack of crisps and the this and that. So I think there's a big education piece, at all ages, I think. It's difficult, isn't it? Because you don't want it to become such a big thing, because we've obviously at the other end of the spectrum, you've got lots of young girls and boys with eating disorders,
Absolutely.
Where they become so conscious about food.
We have to sort of make it common language without any judgment on it. It just needs to be as easy to talk about as anything else. But unfortunately, where we're at the moment is that a label comes with the judgment. So even the word fat, and again, you put this on the title of your book, but even that has got so many multiple connotations. It's fat is a form of food, like carbohydrate, protein, fat. Fat is a judgment about how you look. Fat is a layer underneath your skin. Fat is what you see on animals and people who choose to eat or not eat it. So there's so many different connotations. Fat is energy. And yet we use these words with perceptions attached to them. And we need to get down to the kind of rawness of language and its meaning, and making sure as well with food that we kind of have a fun element to it. Right? Because food is for fun. Like I said right at the beginning, it's for fun. It's creating memories. It's how we connect as well. And I think we've moved away so far from that to just now putting, calories on food is the thing. Well, food didn't come as a calorie. Food has come for so many other kind of functions. And yes, there's a fuel element to it, but there's much more kind of the function and the fun element to it as well. And we definitely need to bring that back. And we don't have cooking lessons in schools anymore, do we? So
no, it's weird, isn't it? Because I remember when we used to, although when I used to do home ec, it was all it was all baking, it was all cake making. But you're right. I mean, that is a real education, but that is that kind of home science of understanding how to build a healthy meal is really important. Also, and I know it's not possible, but even the inner city schools, just to have a small farming area. I mean, just as an example, my son is very particular about his food, and he would like white food if we'd allow it all the time. But, this year we grew peas in the garden. So we grew them. We didn't grow enough to have portion after portion after portion. So, because it's not, it wasn't that scale. But me just picking a couple of pods, laying out 12 peas for him that he'd grown, and then adding the peas that we have there in the freezer, And I would say to him, Baker, you've got to eat the whole portion of peas because 12 of them are yours. So if you leave one on the plate, the one you leave could be yours. And he eats all the peas, like it's thought. And I think, doing that and helping them to see that they can grow things and give it to them to take home and eat and that or to cook, that is a powerful thing as well. So I think, when we talk about it, like you say, we just weave it in without it being bam, this is what we're going to talk about. Yeah. And I think the other thing I would highlight is, and there's some work going on, but I'd like to see more, is what a normal female figure looks like. Because the trouble is, when you start talking about aesthetics, like if I talk about aesthetics, I would like to lose weight, but I only want to be a size 16. I'm 6 foot and and I like being curvy. I just don't want to be as curvy as I am. And I feel that, unfortunately, when you start to talk about aesthetics, people immediately think of this sort of Barbie doll that we all should look like then. And I'm saying, no, it's not about looking like Barbie. It's just about being in proportion for your frame that you were born with. And I think there's not enough, particularly for young people, to help them see what normal is really, unfortunately. And each culture will have a different version of that. If you went out to some countries, it's desired to have you desire to have a curvy figure, but it is just about that piece that the media, I guess, is a challenge.
Yeah. Which is why there's kind of multi-responsibility, isn't there? And, it's the media, it's the education, it's the government, it's the food industry, it's even how supermarkets choose to lay out their aisles, how schools choose to lay out their aisles. We know that how food is placed in the space will determine what people eat and what people choose as well. So, and this whole idea of normal, again, what is that? And we don't really have a sense of what that is, apart from what we're plagued with on the sides of buses and in the adverts. And of course, the media is hugely powerful in portraying that as well. But I think it's coming, we're seeing a different sort of advert on our TVs now, aren't we? So there's definitely this surgence of, and this desire for that. So, and you're doing your part in that as well. That even this conversation is going to make a difference to that as well. And what about other sort of health implications of your weight or your weight journey? Has there been anything that's come up for you at all, anywhere on your body?
Yeah, well, I suppose I'm also reaching that age where, the menopause, I guess I'm perimenopausal. So, things like collagen and things like that my body is maybe not producing at the level it should. And I think having carried excess weight, my joints, have been under more pressure for more time. So I'm feeling that kind of osteoporosis, arthritis, those kind of things. I'm conscious that the wear and tear I've put my body under by asking it to carry, all this excess, weight around with it is something I'm very conscious of at the minute. And I guess I'm trying to learn more, trying to educate myself as to what I can do through diet and nutrition, what I can do through supplements, and maybe changing some of the type of exercise I would have done. Like when I'd written the book, I ran two marathons in, 2010 and 2012, or 9 and 11, I think. I keep forgetting now. But I ran them and I couldn't run them now. Thank you. But I couldn't. Even if I lost the weight, it wouldn't be responsible to do that to my body because of the journey I've had. If I was just atypical, but I could run a marathon at 60, 65, but I feel conscious that perhaps, like I say, the running, the anything that's jarring on my knees, I just have to be careful of. So I have changed some of that and careful, mindful to do a lot more stretching with my muscles. The ones that are recovered a lot quicker, they're not. So all those things, I think, like I say, a combination of the journey and the, like I say, the onset of menopause has made me think about those things.
Yeah. And again, really, really good points that you're talking about, Mikyla, because I think, like you mentioned, collagen, and people don't necessarily relate that to joints and wear and tear, and collagen again becomes this kind of aesthetic thing, and now it's labeled on all these
I think about that as well,
but there's a really, really important part that collagen plays for our joints and the structure of joints. And so when we start to think about kind of weight and health in that context, because it's not always the immediacy of what you see now. This is, as you've alluded to, what's been kind of building up over 10, 15, 20 years plus. And now you're at a point where like, well, no, I'm not running anymore. But I've run 2 marathons, so I could run. And so you start to, life can start to feel a bit more narrower in the choices that are then open up to you as well. And your point about kind of supplementation as well, again, so important. There's this, rising trend of people just surging into health food shops and just stockpiling their trolleys with the latest thing, right? And it's so easy to do because you think that's the quickest way to get what you need. But what most people don't do is really check in on, well, what do I need? Back to kind of testing, like, do I need the vitamin D or the vitamin C? Have I got the magnesium that I need? What do my bones and joints actually need, rather than this generic, I'll take what I can.
And it's expensive, let's be honest. In a world where people are talking about the cost of living, you could easily be spending £60 or £70 a month on supplements. And if you don't need them, then, that's money you could be spending elsewhere. Or you might find when you look into it, there's things that are, that you have a gap there that you didn't even know existed. So you could, invest that into the areas you truly need it, rather than trying to be generic and listening to, don't get me wrong, social media is great for informative things, but you need to do your own research behind that. You can't just see, an advert and think, oh, I must have that.
Yeah.
You need to look at, like you say, your own individual needs. And if there's other products on the market that might be equally as good and more cost effective, or give you something else alongside it, all those things are important.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. What are you taking at the moment, if you don't mind me asking, supplement wise, or what have you got to go to?
So I do my kind of general, woman of my age supplements. So I do the kind of the multivitamin well woman set, but I also take conjointing for my joints, and I now have a collagen supplement, but I've only just started with that, and I'm very I'm going to use that. I'm very fortunate that I have looked after my skin, and obviously some of it is genetic. So I think, I look at myself at 46 and I think your skin's not too bad, but this is the point where it could turn the other way. So there's a little bit that I'm doing the collagen for that, but it was more about the internal benefits and trying to bolster that. So, but also, again, like you said, if you're eating a good diet, I eat a lot of avocado and nuts, and, I eat a lot of veg. So some of the things that you would be reliant on a supplement for, you can weave into your diet, and then it becomes, more cost effective and more enjoyable, because you're not having to stand there going, oh, I've got to take this one, that one, the other. Because I take them sometimes, it takes a pint of water, and later I kind of feel like, it feels like an actual event every day to do it. And some days I miss it for that reason, or if I go on holiday and I don't take them with me, you've got to be consistent, I think, is the message as well. Whatever you do, be consistent. And I'm still working on that.
Yeah. You need consistency and flexibility. And it again comes back to what we talked about right at the beginning, which is understanding why. Why am I needing these supplements versus what can I get from food? And what will really happen if I miss a day or I don't take them when I'm on holiday? Is it okay for me to have a little bit of a flip and flop? So it's back to understanding kind of you and yourself as well, isn't it? So yeah, no, super, super useful conversation. I'd love to know what you're up to at the moment. I know you've just come off a stage, so tell us about that as well. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, it really came out of the blue. It's a great opportunity. So I've just finished understudy in Sheridan Smith in Shirley Valentine in the West End, which I've got to tell you, I feel like I've got don't get me wrong, I love Sheridan, but I think Shirley Valentine is actually my best friend in the whole wide world. So now if I ever think, what should I do? Or I think, what would Shirley do? So I think I kind of embodied her mindset of just, seize the day, as they say. But so I've just finished that, and I've been auditioning, and I've got a couple of auditions this week, actually, which it's been great. It's been great to dive back into the acting and, just really be able to say you can do it. And that's the other thing from a mental health point of view. I guess I'd had 2 children. I hadn't been in the industry for a while. So then somebody put me on a West End stage in a one-woman show by such a prolific writer, such a character that's so beloved. I'll be honest, I just couldn't. I almost couldn't believe it myself. And then I did it. And that feeling of actually being the person I was before I had a family, that sense of achievement, and it has been fabulous. And I think I'm trying to, I guess, ride the crest of that wave a little bit longer and just say, let's see what happens. Let's not, beat ourselves up that we have to know what comes next. We don't. We just have to be present and enjoy what is, and and remain positive. That's my mantra anyway.
Oh, and that's so, so grounding to hear that as well, because I think goal setting is really important. Having that dream and having that vision and setting your sights and, going for what feels great, but it's also being open to the unknown as well. And just like somehow from somewhere, Shirley just trumped up, and here you were kind of having the most incredible time. And that pinch me moment of, yeah, this is actually happening. So was there a kind of standout moment whilst you were playing Shirley? Anything that's
well, I guess I was very lucky that I did have a sort of what's the word, they do like a cover run, so I knew I was going to get to perform it, and I invited them, and there was about 450 people there in a 600-seater theatre, and about 150 of them were people, friends and family, which upped the ante, I'm not going to lie. But on the other side of it now that I've done it, it was that feeling of, like I say, elation and achievement, and I just got lovely feedback, and from the other people that have been there, they've been invited by the production company. And also, I'll be honest, just sitting every night and watching Sheridan, who is so powerful with her craft. She's unbelievable. The rapport she builds with the audience. So having a front row seat to that as well was a real light bulb moment for me, that I just thought, wow, that is a gift in itself. It's not just about how you deliver the lines, and it's just being able to pull people in and then wanting to know what you're going to say next, regardless. And so I think all those things, and just every night going to the stage door and seeing my name there and thinking, that's me.
Oh, I love that, and I love the kind of your rawness and honesty about that, because, often from the audience perspective, we just see this the starlight and the glamour, and have got no sense that, this is like, oh my God, like, what? This is me.
Yeah.
And all of those feelings, which you're experiencing just as anyone else would as well. So it's really lovely to just hear you being able to share that. And I think something else you said as well was just about almost you being back, the kind of pause over through motherhood, and the pauses that women do take in life. And then you're back going, I'm in my light and I'm doing this, and I feel this sense of reward and achievement. What do you say to kind of mums who might be listening and have got that kind of sense as well?
Oh, it's really difficult, because any mum, everybody would say, your children become your priority. But I think what I've learned this year is that they are the priority, and me being happy and being connected with myself makes me better for them. So I think sometimes you need to step outside of the day-to-day and put yourself first for the sake of your kids. And actually, when that comes back round, I think it will be rewarding for everyone. I get emotional now.
And so am I, listening to you as well, because what you're talking about is that sense of identity. Never lose who you are in all of this. And it's so easy to do, isn't it? Because you're there for others that need you. Your children need you. So you lose that sense of who you are. And again, back to labels, we start wearing the label of, I am mother, or I am wife, or I am partner, or I am daughter, or I am sister, or all of those things that we are. And underneath it all, there's me.
Yeah.
And so importantly, when you make sure that, like you're doing, is that you really capture that essence of you show up so much better for those that need you as well. And it's back to that kind of mantra of self-care is not selfish care. It's absolutely a priority, isn't it?
For sure.
Yeah. So what do you do for your self-care then? What's the thing that you zone on?
Well, I'm going to sound really sad, but I guess I do put the gym up there, and we call it twitching. I get a bit twitchy if I have 2 days off and I haven't done anything. Yeah. I'm like, I need to go. Yeah. So actually, I weave it in, as it does involve sometimes getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and going to the gym before the kids get up, and making sure their uniforms are laid out, and so that dad just has to feed them. Then we do a baton change. Yeah. There's a little bit of that, but I think making that happen for myself is it, and letting the whole family know how important exercise is to me is part of my self-care. Like anybody, and I do want to, particularly when I'm on a weight loss journey, I do like a little thing where I go, when you hit that little mini goal there, go and have a pedicure and a manicure. You hit that little mini goal there, have a massage. So I think those things actually, again, it's important when you're on any kind of a healthy eating regime, or trying to make some changes. Reward yourself within that. Don't just wait for the end. Yeah. Reward yourself along the way, so that you reinforce that you're doing something great, and that you should be, you get that kind of pat on the back. And I think so those kind of things are important. I'm a very sociable person, so spending time with my friends always feeds my soul. And I'm very lucky that some of my mum friends that I have children the same age as my kids have actually really become, really, really valuable people in my life, because we're on a journey together, but also we just happen to have a nice synergy. And some of them, I think, even if we didn't have kids, we'd have been friends and we'd have found each other anyway, Yeah. So I think having that time as well, just making sure you're having time to socialize with people who lift you up, who are positive, is really important.
And there's huge kind of massive health benefits for that. It's not just having a good old chinwag and a social. Again, connectivity, binding, belonging, being part of something, sharing, all of that. We've proven that it adds years to your life. Like there's this kind of whole longevity piece that happens because of this. And, loneliness in itself is it's a killer. So recognizing that spending time with people is an important part of how you stay healthy and how you live longer is so great, as well, that you're able to sort of carve out time amongst all of the kind of busyness of life to do that, as well. So, oh, great. Look, thank you so much. This has been such, I guess, a grounding and uplifting conversation at the same time, because I can really sense the big drivers for you and what's important to you, and recognizing what matters, and how that really kind of resonates with the actions that you take and why you do them. So it's really lovely to hear. So where do you think we'll see you next? On our screens, on the theatre? Where are you going to be next?
Well, I mean, tomorrow I'm auditioning for an Oscar Wilde play, which I think I'm like, it's been so long. But there's also, I've been fortunate. I had a little chat with some of the people at the BBC. Maybe, something like Casualty or Doctors would be fabulous. I've already done them and I'll be keen to do them again because it's a great experience. So I really don't know. I guess, like I say, it's all happened at once and happened really quickly. So I had to go and get new headshots, and I've had to, rejig, what I want to do and my logistics of my life. So I'm just, as I said, I'm just waiting for it to happen now, and hoping the universe is going to, sort of throw me a bone again. It's thrown me a really big one. I need another little one, and that will see me through the rest of the year.
Oh, wonderful. It's going to throw stars at you, Mikyla. It really is. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, look, so good to be speaking with you today. Thank you for your openness and your raw honesty. And I know that you will have made a difference to people listening today as well. So we'll keep in touch for sure.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Take care.
Bye, Anne.
Bye.
Oh, what a lovely, honest, open, warm person you are, Mikyla. I really enjoyed that conversation. And weight is such an emotive subject. I do feel it's so important to be able to talk freely about it. So I'm so glad we've been able to do that. Now, thinking about our conversation, I think what I'd love to do next week is take a different view and take a look at what the science says about weight, and also looking at what can make weight loss difficult. So tune in next week for a hack episode on weight. And in the meantime, I wish you a health activating day.